huge thank you to Martha and to Kat for absolutely inspirational speeches. What a fantastic sight I'm looking out at just now. This is a phenomenal turnout for the launch of Yes Glasgow. It's phenomenal, firstly in terms of the sheer size of it, the sheer numbers of you that have turned out tonight to say a big resounding yes. Now, I don't think we should start off getting too competitive amongst ourselves in Yes Scotland, but let me say quite clearly and quite simply, I think it's fantastic that Yes Glasgow has been the biggest and best launch anywhere. This turnout tonight is special for another reason, not just for its size. It's special because of the makeup of the audience in this room right now. I look out here and I see faces of people that I've known for years, too many years than we would care to remember. People I've campaigned with down the years. But I also look out tonight and see people that I don't yet know. Lots of people that I'm seeing and meeting tonight for the first time. People that I hope I will campaign with over these next 21 months for a yes victory in the referendum. There are people here tonight, as we've heard, from many political parties. There are people here tonight, I'm sure, from no political party. We don't agree on absolutely everything. There's nothing wrong with that. Scotland is a democracy and will be a better democracy when we are independent. But the one thing we agree about is that we only get to make these choices about our future if we are independent. We must be independent. We probably couldn't have picked a more appropriate date to have the launch of Yes Glasgow. Today, Westminster will pass the order transferring power to the Scottish Parliament to hold the independence referendum. And let me say, anybody still harbouring any doubts about whether Scotland would be better off independent would only have had to look in to the farce of a debate this afternoon, contributed to by people like Lord Forsyth, people in an unelected chamber, moaning about the transfer of power to the democratically elected Scottish Parliament. There's another reason why today is a very appropriate day to be meeting here in Glasgow. Today, the 16th of January, is the anniversary of the day in 1707 when the old Scottish Parliament ratified the Treaty of Union. Now, can you imagine our current Scottish Parliament today being asked to do that? If we were independent, being asked to ratify a treaty that handed over power to a parliament hundreds of miles away in which our voice was barely heard, to ratify a treaty that would see us hand over our resources, our vast resources, for another parliament to decide how much or how little of that we got back, to ratify a treaty that would put weapons of mass destruction on the River Clyde. That would be laughed out of the Scottish Parliament if it was a proposition today. So if we won't vote today for a system of government that wouldn't serve us well, why should we vote in 2014 to continue that system of government? In 2 years' time, it won't be an unelected House of Lords, it won't be a Parliament of any description that decides Scotland's future. Our future will be decided by the people of Scotland, and that's how it should be. And I'm going to make a prediction to you this evening, and I make this prediction not out of complacency, not out of a sense of bravado in wanting to impress you. I make this prediction because I believe our case is overwhelming, it is compelling, it is powerful, and it is right, and that prediction is we will win. For independence. You know, I'm fed up with Scotland getting Tory governments that we don't vote for. In my entire life, not once has Scotland voted for a Tory government. Not once in my entire life has Scotland returned a majority of Tory MPs or a majority of votes for the Tories, and yet for more than half of my life Scotland has been governed by the Tories. That is not democratically acceptable, and independence will mean that we always get the government we vote for. That's so much more than abstract principle. That democracy matters. You know, last week, in the House of Commons, the vast majority of Scottish MPs voted against welfare changes that will penalise the poorest in our society, that will make disabled people poorer, that will make hundreds of thousands of households, many of them working hard each and every day, poorer than they are. The vast majority of our MPs voted against those changes. The vast majority, with one exception, I hasten to add. Alistair Darling, the leader of the Better Together campaign, instead of turning up in the House of Commons to vote against Tory welfare changes, was in Scotland scaremongering about independence. That was shameful. MPs voted against those changes. Those changes will be imposed by Westminster. Friends, that is not acceptable, and that is what independence will change. So we will make that democratic case for independence, and we'll make the social case too. The case for fairness. I want to live in a country where wealth is created, yes, but where it's shared more equally too. I don't think we should settle for a situation where we're as rich as we are, rich in talent and skills and ingenuity, rich in natural resources, and yet we are, as Blair said earlier on, the fourth most unequal society in the developed world. I don't believe we should settle for that. I believe we should take the powers over tax and benefits to allow us here in Scotland to create the fairer society that we want. So we will make that case for fairness too. We'll make the economic case. You know, over the past number of years, our long-term economic growth rate has been something like 40% lower, 40% lower than equivalent small independent countries. What's the no side's reaction to that? They mock those successful small independent countries, and yet many, if not all of them, are richer than Scotland is. Ireland, small independent Ireland, currently the President of the European Union. So we will make the democratic case, we will make the fairness case, we will make the economic case, and friends, we'll make the principled case as well. We should not be forced to spend money on weapons of mass destruction that the people of Scotland do not want and the world does not need. I've campaigned for independence since I was 16 years old. That's 5 years ago now. I've campaigned since I was 16 years old. Many of you have campaigned a lot longer than I have. Many of you have joined more recently. There are many friends and colleagues of mine that are no longer here to take part in what we are privileged to be taking part in today. And it's that sense of privilege that motivates me every single day. You know, we are the lucky generation, because it is our generation of Scots that has the chance to make and to win the case for our country's independence. And in that date, yet to be announced, in 2014, when we put our crosses on the ballot paper, we will be doing so much more than just choosing between yes and no. We will be taking the chance into our own hands to imagine and then to build the kind of country we want Scotland to be. What a rare opportunity and privilege to have. And everyone in Scotland, every single person in Scotland has a stake in this debate and in this decision. You know, one of my colleagues, late colleagues, Bashir Ahmed, one of the people that I so deeply regret is not here to take this journey with us, because he would so love to be here. He would have set himself a personal challenge to convert every single person in Scotland single-handedly. But Bashir uttered that wonderful phrase, it's not where you come from that matters, it's where we are all going together. And over these next 2 years, let's make clear to everybody in Scotland, where you come from does not matter. If you live in Scotland, if you care about the life you have here in Scotland, then it matters that you make this choice. You know, I am as proud a Scot as it's possible to be, but I don't think it matters if you feel Scottish, British, Pakistani, Irish, Indian, whatever. That's not what this is about. We're not asking people to choose a flag or a national identity. We are asking people to think about the kind of country they want Scotland to be and how best we achieve it. That is the opportunity. Undemocratic, remote Westminster system of government that has presided over low growth and a widening gap between the rich and the poor? Or is it putting decisions in the hands of our own parliament, a parliament that will make mistakes and not always get it right, but a parliament that is more likely to get it right, and a parliament that is more easy to hold to account when it doesn't? That's the choice we're asking people to make. So friends, let's leave this room tonight full of determination, excitement about what lies ahead. Ours will be a positive campaign, it will be an uplifting campaign. We will be met by relentless and unremitting negativity from our opponents. Make no mistake, sometimes though, that negativity can be helpful. You know, a couple of weeks ago, so desperate were they to attack, so desperate were they to show wrongly that our figures were wrong, that £500 per person better off was actually £1 per person worse off, that they managed to concede that Scotland, at worst, will be no worse off independent. Well, I don't agree with their figures, but I'll pay my pound to get rid of Trident, to get So I'm going to leave you with a question, and I want you to answer it in resounding one-word fashion. Are we going